Jefe?
Jefe.
Have fun. Have a fun time.
That is... you feeling okay?
No.
Too
We've
late
had
for
a
you?
very long day.
I'm good. I'm raring to go. Maybe it's just those old man bones you got in you.
Maybe it's many bones, man bones in me. It's all the Red Bull and other energy drinks that I've been drinking.
See, that's why I don't drink the stuff.
No, a lot of sugar has kind of filled up my entire body, and now I'm just gonna, I guess, power myself through and not sleep over the next 15 days as we go through the rest of these qualifiers.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But Habana has the instant ban here removed from play by Penta. Obviously, we are pushing against the basement. We played Clubhouse in a European game, not so long ago. We've already talked about why it's kind of important to ban off the hard destruction for hatch control. I don't think we need to repeat ourselves. In fact, as Capital gets taken off, I feel like we're seeing a very similar set of bans to any EU Clubhouse.
Oh yeah, it's Capital and Habana have really been the highlighted operators that have been banned out a lot, especially in the attacking terms, because defense is a lot more predictable because it's always like Mira, Echo, Maestro, whereas attack, there's a lot more options to really go for. And talking about the Mira, Echo, Maestro, Mira gone straight away, and I'm guessing Echo or Maestro will follow through.
Yeah, I've already written down Echo, if I'm honest. I'm just expecting it at this point. I'm probably going to be wrong and have to cross something out, but it's just such a staple. Yep, that's Maestro. I have to do a slight cross out. But it's one or the other, really. It's so interchangeable between preference and that kind of stuff. And, you know, end of the ban phase, it's all very familiar territory that
We've done well there just for chatting absolute nonsense.
I know. Maybe we should, we could be like the USN casters.
Oh.
They chat nonsense.
Wow.
Didn't they do a 40-minute fill time the other day?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Veli and Stokes, I think.
Yeah,
it was.
Veli just, I don't know. Veli's just here.
That's skill. That's skill and just earnest power.
If only Veli had skill and ranked. I would have to carry him every match.
Oh,
Feels bad.
Someone get that man's R6 tab. We set ourselves up for the basement hold as the opener here. Penta starting on the defense, obviously coming off the back of a 7-3, which is a nice place to be. In the previous game, the diffuser went down once, and that was in the very final round. Otherwise, the diffuser didn't get planted at all.
10 seconds.
I could honestly see the same thing happening again. I feel as if Clubhouse can, yes, be very revolved around the plant, but at the same time, if you look at basement, that entire collapse that the attack wants to go for in defense, sometimes it literally just comes down to the kills. So you look at the bans, and Habana being gone, and Maverick being open, so this means that the basement will be a lot easier to hold if you are Penta, whenever you're on the defense, and then if you're upstairs and you're trying to hold the cache, then it could be a lot more difficult for the defense, simply because Maverick's there to open up that entire double wall, and you don't have to worry about, of course, getting bandit tricked, which, honestly, there's been a lot of lacking bandits around the scene currently in Clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of way that people have swapped around to different play styles. They've opted for the Kaid to kind of keep that a little bit at range, because people are so good at clearing underneath on certain points. They're so good at getting into places on Clubhouse where otherwise Bandit is going to be an absolute victim. And I say underneath, also above at points like this, whereas Revan here on Kaid can be a little bit deeper, a little bit further away. Kuda is going to open up the frags, and that's very good for Enviik as they drop Blaz and start this the way they hope to continue, find a body, and from that point on, they're going to roll further and further. And now it's just a matter of cracking open this motor hatch and continuing it as a random floor bang, and that is just always an unfortunate way to die.
So that does leave Penta without Blast, and more importantly a C4 off the table, and that's one of two, and hopefully pretty sure Revan should have a C4. If he has the impacts, I don't really know why, because C4 is just generically better over the impacts, of course, and now Enviik, this is great for them. They've got the first blood. Nobody from Penta has decided to go for the roam game, and they're going to try and drop in towards Moat and open up the triple wall, and actually does have the impact, so we're going to try and go for the impact trick, but this one is tough enough to try and land, and let's see if he can make a success, and yes, he will do so, and Hungary, of course, can protect him, so he doesn't have to worry about anybody pushing in towards his teammate, and just holding firm is how it goes in Enviik. Now, they're a bit of a slow point after that did happen.
Well, Well, Hungry cuts a man in half and is going to try and swing around and just pre-fire anything that gets close. Losing the Thatch is a bit of a big loss, but at the same time, you've already done a bit of the busy work to get yourself in there. Heroldi's trying to put pressure on the blue side as Revan shuts down JK through the wall. That is the Maverick gone as well. So at this point, Kaid could pretty comfortably hold this, but they're just going to get the man as he tries to drop in. They've lost the first body and refuse to lose any more, as Penta locked down that first round in pretty convincing fashion.
That's where they were lacking Habana to be there, of course, and that's why they did ban that for Penta, because it does make that basement a lot easier to hold down. And that's the whole point of banning that operator. You don't have that same kind of little feet holes that you can, of course, make, and you can't be impact tricked from that point. Whereas Thermite is very prone to being impact trick, and we've seen as soon as that happened, Enviik just stopped in their tracks. Nothing came off it, and it just kind of shows how prowess the shotgun play can be from a smoke inside of Moto. He just walks his way through and taps 1, 2, 3, how many it is, doesn't matter. Smoke rules that room all day long.
Wow, CCTV and Cash we're going to opt to go to next. And one of the things that we saw from Penta previously was that they were being a little bit more creative in the holds that they wanted to do. Yes.
You didn't tell me you were Spanish.
I'm sorry, I was trying to hide it. The same way that you have to disguise your accent a little bit,
Don't start. Don't
disguise mine. CCTV and Cash is where we're going to head next. And one of the things that we were saying about Penta before was they were kind of trying the slightly lesser familiar points and getting themselves used to it for whatever reason. Maybe they were just trying to stretch their legs and their limbs and find a bit more of a ground. So far, this seems like they kind of want to be through and done with this as quickly as possible. Bringing things like the Echo to keep the big control. They've got the Valkyrie as well. Curious who they're going to throw in the top floor of Garage, if anyone. Probably the Legion, but Echo with that ACOG can do absolute beast work. They've just got a lot of utility for information at this point, and they're setting a lot of it up on this side. And there's the cool man Revan, just kind of chilling, charging his goose.
Enviik have not brung an IQ, even though Valkyrie and Echo is available this game. And generically, whenever you see a Valkyrie and Echo up, you always need to bring that IQ. Because you're bringing one operator to counter two, and that's a massive payoff. And you always think of Rainbow Six Siege where different operators counter different operators. You know, you look at the Thermite Bandit kind of thing, where Thermite, of course, cannot get free bandit charges. Then that's where Thatcher counters him, and then everything just kind of collapses. If you're bringing one operator that counters two, that's great. It's like bringing a Thatcher whenever you know a Bandit and Kaid is going to be up against you.
Well, Yannick's is looking for any aggression against the door underneath. They've put, actually, on the question of it, if I said who's going to be in here, the Legion or the Echo, but why not both? And they've thrown both of them into the garage, one to hold high, one to hold low, and otherwise enemy is going to look towards the now open eastern side and try and keep that closed down. On the other side, Ara with the frag grenades is ready to try and cook anyone out, but did just hear Blaz knock that window from Jim and is going to drop out of there. The Valk had the eyes on that, hadn't got the prep in. They're cracking open the bottom of garage, but no one is there to react quickly. Pre-fires the turn, and the two men are dancing at very wide arcs, and neither, unfortunately, meets the other. As Ara finds Yannick's, and it is quickly starting to become a little bit more of a consistent push from the sides of Enviik.
Also have breached in towards the garage and really trying to put the emphasis onto enemy, and I'm glad that Enviik are doing things the right way you're supposed to get it done. That is, first of all, opening up the breach in towards Cash, which is what they've done, so it basically means that enemy, he has to stay in catwalk. There's no way that he can cross back over without getting killed, and then from there they need to try and pressure on towards said Echo. That's why they've opened up below, but Revan goes in big, and enemy even jumps onto the train, and Hungary as well. Everybody from Penta steps up in a quick succession. Now it's just down to Thermite, lonely Thermite, who's up on the rooftop with no real way to go apart from a clear death.
I appreciate what he's got on his gun there, the keep calm and breach and clear. So that's just a little thing I noticed there, and I like that the Penta are bringing their own charm, but that is a second round in a row for them. 2-0, and both times they've lost the opening and then just kind of gone, oh no wait, we're not supposed to die, and then completely swept back across Enviik, who are struggling so far to find their way against these Penta defenses.
Their setup looks really strong. They're doing things the right way. The only thing that I could kind of pinpoint is that they don't really have a player that we kind of look at and go, ooh, we don't really have that standout player from an Enviik, and I kind of feel that every team needs to have one of those, because generically, every team does have one of those players.
Yeah, this is like a team that's kind of falling well into each other's beats and patterns, and you know, maybe their usual standout just isn't having a great day, and we're not too sure. But at the same time, there's no one really stepping up. And to be fair, it's something that we even talked about in games earlier today. If you obviously hark your minds all the way back to when we saw G2 playing up in their first game against Existence, and you know, we were still seeing certain names from Existence find bodies and fries, like Karibo and Barrage especially. They were, you know, they were able to get bodies, and yes, it's in some ways a more established team than Enviik, but at the same time they're still competing and still winning their national titles and their national kind of rosters, so we're missing that little bit of aggressive flair to lead the charge at this moment in time.
So we move over to now our gym and bedroom, and Penta, an extension hold towards that cache, a common thing that a lot of teams, of course, have adapted to and have realized that, hey, if we can put as much pressure into another side of the map, hopefully we'll kind of force the attacking team in to use all of their utility, and they won't have much to go off whenever they finally push in towards the bomb site. Also, fully reinforcing not just Jacuzzi wall, which is standard, but also fully reinforcing bathroom. Yes, that's a play. Yes, you can happily reinforce bathroom, but typically they leave it soft until they need to reinforce it. So they kind of have that pullback. Bandit is always taken for gym and bedroom, but they're not going for it. And I get the idea, because if you're bringing a bandit, then that basically forces you to bring a castle. That's you sacrificing another operator to protect one, which may not even get a payoff whenever Maverick's still up there.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I think they've opted instead to kind of lean into their aggressive guns instead of relying on, well, tactics to carry them through, because they know that they can use their gunning skill to drop the bodies on the opponents. And they also know that, as you said, Maverick has been a pretty consistent bring-along from the sides of Enviik. Now, they're worried about someone running out on Dirt's side, and Buck is just keeping a continual eye on it, but so far, Penta, they're pretty relaxed, just kind of lying around like lions and leaving themselves grazing in the sun and waiting for the Finns to push against them as they steadily and methodically work across this wall. They've got the hard section off now. They just need to crack open the soft to find the gooey insides of, well, whoever might be unlucky enough to be on the other side. But so far, Blaz is the only one that's suffered anything close to a fraction of damage. As I said, at this point, Penna, they just chilling. They just vibing.
They're waiting for Enviik to make the move, and Enviik, they're not making a whole lot of those. Penta's entire construction is still intact. Nobody from Enviik has any intentions of pushing that. They're at a standstill. Yes, they've got the wall open, but they still have to go for another one. And whenever the collapse can come in from Penta, where they can rotate people below with a C4 and can't deny access to Jim, because at this moment, bedroom's kind of off the table for Enviik, because they haven't really done anything to allow them to do so. Do you say Kuda? He has went from below and eliminated Yannick's. See if he can add anything more. So playing as that kind of lone fragger, and maybe Yannick's just getting a little bit carried away, too early for a rotation, perhaps we could say. I could definitely see Blash rotating below and then using that C4, but he can't really do so whenever someone is crouch walking up the main stairs at the moment. And nobody from Penta, I think, is caught on that someone is there. Everybody grouping up to push in, blind push in from JK, and that has to be a just kidding moment.
Yeah, Hungry just caught that man in half, baited by the sound of the Thermite charge though. Well played, Thermite, and quickly Enviik finds some bodies on the opposite side, and suddenly it's just Revan out of nowhere. Enviik pulled that round together, and hey, they just took advantage of the fact that Penna was so laid back, too laid back, and they got themselves in a bit of a tight spot. The first round swings the way of Enviik, but got to remember last time it was a 7-3. They are more than capable of responding, and we've got to go back via Church and CCTV to potentially find a more comfortable point to attack for Enviik.
That's a weird one. Very strange kind of pacing of the round.
Yep.
Just Penta set up shop. Enviik just kind of moved around the map and didn't really have any headway into the actual bomb site. Then we see a questionable play from JK. He just walked in. Great play, though, from Thermite to bait the Thermite charge. And then just quick kills come in from Enviik. Weird.
I mean, yeah, it was a bit peculiar because, as we said, they were still kind of focused on the Jacuzzi wall, but I guess it was just Penta resting on their laurels a bit, giving over a lot of ground. Obviously, they did manage to take out Yanix, who has been the opening death twice in a row. And across all these 3 rounds, the opening kill has been the favor of Enviik. They've managed to find the opening body, and then from that point onwards, usually, Penta just shut it down. But this time round, I guess they were just a bit too relaxed and a bit too lax. Well, they're getting themselves set up now for potentially another swing at it. They're going to try and hold on to CCTV. This was a bit of a fight previously. Obviously, they managed to get in and get against the church wall and start trying to get it open, but from that point onwards, Penta closed it down pretty emphatically. I'm curious to see if Enviik try a secondary push, maybe a different location, and focus on hatches with the Maverick first, or try and get some more bodies and more control via vertical destruction with the Buck and the Sophia. Or if they're just going to try and take 2 and see if they can trust on a little bit of a better luck in terms of the trades when they're actually breaching and breaking onto the point.
Talking about Yanix there with his opening deaths. He played 104 rounds in Pro League this season. He had 20 opening deaths, so nearly 20% of every round he played, he died first. So 1 in 5.
You know, sometimes that happens. You live by the sword, die by the sword.
But then you look at Blas, 24 opening kills for him. So that was strong enough, and whenever we're kind of comparing everybody's opening kills to someone like Citizen, who had 28, he was actually best this season by Secretly with 29 opening kills, but then Secretly also had 30 opening deaths, which that's a big old number to kind of put yourself up against, and nobody had any more than 30 opening deaths from Secretly.
Well, as I said, if you live and bask in that aggressive position and the aggressive style, you can, you know, it's glory or death, really. It's one of those kind of roles, and some teams bask in that kind of stuff, and some teams love having that kind of player and love having that kind of style, and other teams it's a nightmare, and they go, never do that again, please never do that again. I guess it's just within Secretly's wheelhouse. Ara is quickly cracking open as much of this kitchen floor as possible. Enemy, however, has just tried to sneak around the back, but the cover was there, and Daisari yet again keeps the role of them getting the opening frag. But as we've seen, out of the 3 rounds so far, 2 of those times hasn't mattered, and they've quickly been able to swap it down to a 4 operators left standing, only 1 person being dropped. Not this time, as Yanix yet again suffers a fate, and that is Haroldi being able to find another body, and now it's just a matter of finding their way via blue, cracking in behind them and drawing as much attention towards the front side as possible via the kitchen and motor hatch, but it really looks like most of them are stacking up on the opposite side.
So Penta, 3v5, and that front entrance is where they're trying to put a lot more pressure towards, but actually Enviik, they're looking for the back. Only 1 guy is pushing towards main stairs, but there's Revan. He will open up onto, again, those people pushing in towards blue, but then the quick refrags there, and it has to have opened up the bomb site now, simply for Enviik to walk in. Diffuser had to go get recollected by the Furmine. Just, slaughterhouse for Enviik. They simply pushed their way in.
2-2. They've brought themselves back into this fight. They've been aggressive, and I think they've kind of realized that, well, they don't want it to end the same way the first 2 rounds started, and this almost looks like a reinvigorated team compared to the first map. At the same time, Penta seems still a little bit sleepy.
Wake up. Come on.
Yeah, they've not really brought themselves into this firefight so far. Going to opt to rotate on the point anyway, even though they lost it, and they're going to find themselves heading up to CCTV. But Blas obviously hasn't found his way off the 0. Enemy and Yanix, who again are both capable of putting up these big numbers, are just a bit lackluster so far.
Cash for Penta once more. They did defend it last time, and it was a nice attempt from Enviik in kind of what they were going for. Looked really solid towards that kind of opening half, but then all of a sudden, Penta just came in swinging, and everybody just picked up a kill or 2, and yeah, Enviik were just left in the dust at that stage. Quite similar to kind of what happened there with Penta. You know, they just lost their members very early on. Just a complete collapse has happened, and everybody won their 1v1s, and then that puts, of course, teams in the deficit positions, which is very difficult to ask of only 1 guy to try and clutch like a 1v4, for example. So Penta looking to set up in the exact same way, same operator lineup selection of enemy. On the Echo can play up inside of Catwalk all day long, and has that intel, of course, being gathered by the drone. Still no IQ from Enviik, even though intel is a massive thing that Penta try and play for this bomb site, so definitely something to look in towards. But you look at that lineup, Where does IQ, you know, kind of fit? What spot does IQ take? But perhaps could be one. I think you need to kind of keep the Sophia. Sophia's just too good to try and clear out Garage, and you need Thatcher, you need Thermite in case Bandit or Kaid ever kind of slips through the cracks, and Maverick obviously there as well. And yeah, just for Enviik, I don't really know where they could fit in the IQ even if they have the chance to.
Well, Heraldi's trying to find the long angles here as they push against a point that, again, they lost previously with only finding one body in the meantime. But you could say the same about Church. JK looking to try and start this Mavericking. Great action and crawling and the combination and the ability, which you see a lot of people otherwise struggle with, but there's the ankles caught out, and there is no stopping that wall as it gets broken open without any kind of electronic denial. Blaz, in the meantime, hanging around logistics, drops 2 drones, but doesn't see the third man, potentially swinging around on Jacuzzi's side, as now they're just going to keep themselves locked in over here. It seems like Enviik are responding well to what Penta was doing. They've dropped in logistics, they're pushing aggressively against Blaz, who is finding less and less space to play with, and Hungry needs to kind of double up here and offer a little bit of support and just slow the roll. And you can see the Echo drone is going there to help as well. He's desperately wanting to hit the wall properly, but is instead just going to cover the escape, soft this up, and hand over more and more land towards Enviik, who are finding themselves comfortably surrounding the point.
So Enviik, they've got themselves inside of logistics, and it looks as if they're going to go for a split push. They've got that breach open, and like we've talked about, it creates an entire sanction. It's like parting the Red Sea. You force everybody in Garage to stay there as long as you have still one man outside the breach, which, to be fair to Enviik, they do. And now they rotate around in towards the A-bomb site, but there is C4s below. There's Blast ready. Oh, a nice shield as well, so that's a curious position for Hungry to play, because if that does get destroyed, like Sophia Impact was to come in, he's caught out, he's going to die from that scenario, so it's a big risk off that shield, but still Penta holding firm. But like we know Enviik, they don't need as much time on Clubhouse. It's not as if it's Bank, and there's the Echo drone, was actually playing as more of a kind of drone, like an attacker would, and finds out where that Sophia was, and just alerts the position, especially for Blast, who we know is downstairs in the lounge, and even Buck rotates below, and this is going to be the first firefight really that we have, and somehow Blassie wins that. The drone was lacking there, and another one for Blast, a double kill, and this has to be where the road ends for Enviik in this round.
Yeah, you say, how did he win that? And I think the real question is, how did he win the second one of those? Caught reloading mid-firefight, and he'd been completely droned out, and the information passed. There's the smoke canister going off as they try and catch the man on the corner. Yannick finds JK. In the meantime, the second smoke charge goes off, and I think for me, the moment this round started to fall in their favor was the impact trick against the Thermite in this cache from very early on. We could see the plan formulate in the hands of Penta, and from then on, it's just been a pretty solid lockout, and currently set up for the first flawless game, flawless round in the hands of Penta.
Blast finally wakes up. We highlighted him. No kills, a lot of deaths, nothing really to bark on about, but finally he gets himself into a great position there, and it puts the pressure on Enviik. Whenever you know there's going to be a Valkyrie below, it forces you to push him. Because everybody knows if you allow a C4 operator to stay below you, it doesn't matter if you go in for the plant, you kill everybody. As long as that one C4 lands and it hits its mark, that's the round done and over. So for Enviik, they prioritize that a lot. But there's lack of droning there even for Enviik during that late round. If you know there's going to be a guy downstairs, why are you not droning him? Why are you going in blind? Sure, you can go in blind, but they went in one by one. Sophia didn't wait for the buck.
Yeah, I think that's the... Now, the thing about when they're working as a unit and when they're kind of covering stuff, it seems nice from Enviik, but they leave themselves too repeatedly open to lapses in kind of communication. And as soon as these Pro League teams, like Penta, like G2, as we've seen, as soon as they find an opening, they're so good at exploiting it, because for them, that's their natural state. That's what they're looking for in other Pro League teams at the tippy top of this game, is you find the moments you can pull around and you grab on and you yank as hard as you can. And that is something that these guys are struggling with at this point, because they're not quite quick enough to be able to shut down and realize and react to how aggressive players like Blaz can be underneath. Now 3-2, and we're back down into Church, and obviously 1-1 lost one is a good status for the attackers at this point, but Penta, can they be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more active in their hold of this?
So now for Penta, they go back to the church, which they've won, but also have lost. And Enviik have been very explosive, I think, in this bomb site especially. They can be very deadly if Penta allow them to attend their devices. And I still feel as if Yannick should just go on a mad roam, which, I say that, there he goes. He goes on the mad roam, he finds 1 kill, but quickly retraded. But that's the Thermite. That's a massive kill for Yannick. That's a massive payoff, because sure, you lose your Jaeger. He's already placed down his ADSs. His Thermite placed down his Thermite charges, Fluke?
I don't believe he has. Bit silent now. We can hear a lot of beeping of a lot of different utilities around the
C4
staircase. Yeah, keep themselves some sightlines, and you're assuming the Valkyrie's doing something tricky with it. As the Mavericks found himself suddenly very, very integral to how this is going to part and play out. Arrow's going to swing in onto that red staircase and find their way down towards the point as blue side is being droned out, and there is the pre-placed, cutting Arrow in half as their Blaz has, as we said, started to show up on that Valkyrie and find some bodies. Rotating round towards the staircase. This is something we saw from Penta the previous round, as they're very active in finding new positions and new holds depending on what is going on from the push, and everyone has generally found their way into blue. They're going to try and stack up, realize we have the hard destruction, they're going to try and take the softer side of this point, and big guns are blowing off, but otherwise Hungry just swings around a corner and drops 1 with a shotgun, drops 2, suffers in the meantime, but now it is just a 3 versus 1, and the man is buried in a deep, dark corner. A minute 10, all the time in the world to rotate. Diffuser is cold on the floor, and enemy's just going to end it with an impact.
He's caught him. He's got himself a wild JK. Wonder what that involves then, too.
An LMAO?
Well, if he's finished, right, we'll say he's a stage 1 of finish, right? What would be the stage 2? Would it be like a move? Or like a jaunt here or something like that?
I could see it as a move. It depends. Obviously, are we doing a 3-stage thing here?
Oh, yeah, we're doing a free. We'll do, right, here we go. We'll
3-stage and a Dynamax. That's the new one, isn't it?
It is.
I know some Pokemon stuff, but I don't want to offend anyone by calling them a Dynamax.
Yeah, it's not out yet. Sword Shield isn't here.
No. Coming.
So we go from JK to move, and then we go to what, like Uno?
Panari.
Panari? Yeah. Even though, you know, I would say that...
Spiritually, I think Panari is the final evolution.
You think?
Yeah.
You wouldn't say, you know, maybe the world champions?
But Panari?
What about Sleben?
Superpower player Sleben, that's true.
Or is he like a single stage? He's just an entity in its own.
Maybe, okay, let's rephrase this metaphor. Maybe the Finnish scene is more like Eevee, in that they can go in several different directions depending on what you kind of give them. So if you give them a guitar, it turns into Panari, or a chef's hat, or most objects, it turns into Panari.
Yeah, or like, you know, for Kanto, you can give them like a 5-0 lead against Navi, and then they have to lose that to evolve into Kanto.
Ow. That's
Is that the kind of approach you're going for?
I mean, I wasn't going to be that mean about it. But I technically it is the approach I was going for, but I wasn't going to be that mean about it. 4-2. Penta are in up against this Finnish team. That is, as we said, early evolution, and they're trying to find their way into this firefight now, setting themselves up on this basement point, which is, well, as I said, it's had mixed success for them so far. 2 of the rounds have not really gone their favor, and those are the 2 rounds where Penta have looked active. Penta previously as well on their attacking rounds, they're the only ones that have got a diffuser down. They won 2 and lost 2, so it was a pretty balanced bat. So it gives, I guess, Enviik a little bit of hope as we go into this kind of trade and this kind of situation. And it's down to Penta to try and, I guess, prove their mettle and see how much they can take.
Enviik, all the pressure in the world. Honest, is there pressure though on Enviik? Are we expecting him to win this game?
Not really.
We're not. There's no pressure on Enviik. Honestly, more pressure on Penta, because if they lose this game, and you know, eventually if they lose the series against Enviik, well, boy, someone's gonna get a Reddit post.
I mean, yeah, get many, many Reddit posts, and yeah, I guess we'll see how this kind of comes to fruition. The fact that obviously they've already lost the Ashe very, very quickly, and yet again, Yannick has found themselves out of the equation, faster than a speeding bullet, that is Ashe. with only a little bit of damage suffered on the shoulder of Kaid. They've got a hatch open. There's a minute 42. They're not wasting any time, and they're pre-firing every angle that they can. So obviously it was just a matter of throw Ash in, see what happens, and unfortunately she suffered a fate. But now you can see them setting themselves up to start pushing aggressively. Enemy just rolls straight in. They now have this wall, and there is a C4 shutting down Blast as well. They're putting more bandit charges up and trying to bait them with the Thatcher, and Thatcher off the table now. They're going to have to try and rely on trickery, but the impact holes are above. That's going to be a bit of a disaster. Revan at least finds one back in their favor. Deep in blue, Heroldi suffers, and now it's just a matter of getting all these explosives closer towards the point. As the smoke canisters go off, another man goes down on the far side, and that is your smoke out of the equation, with Hungry getting a double as he just eases his way right into this point, quickly swinging it into the favor of Penta around the back of the side. They find the team and find all the bodies that they need to. Ara finds another, brings it to a double, rotates round on Moto, finds another, brings it back to a 1-1 on a triple kill, can quad this out with some amazing clutch work, and there it is! Ara for Enviik does unimaginable movements this round.
Ara had no right in doing that. He should not win those, yet he does. Penta had everything going for them, and it's just the lack of communication. You've seen that Sophia had checked that position, but just missed the bandit by an inch, and then that's just where the pesky kind of trick where you just keep moving in your position, and it's just, it's just
Just one of them. Ara, what a round to have doubled his KD in that single round. At the same time, Penta, they lost the initial footing, and then from there started to pull it back a fair bit, and then a hell of a clutch there from the solo player to keep that team and keep that balance not as big. Obviously, as we said, Penta, they lost a couple of their rounds. Their attack rounds previously weren't the best as they translated, and that was where they dropped a couple of points. But from this point onwards, I guess we'll see if they can, find that Pro League status yet again. Pushing against CCTV, Cash bringing the Maverick and bringing the hard destruction. Oh, it's looking pretty good from Enviik so far.
Still, a lot of work to be done if they want to pull off this upset. Now Enviik, they will turn their attention towards the Cash. So reinforcing in towards that garage, they have a fairly chunky lineup, bringing the Doc and the Echo alike, and probably going to see Doc playing top of Catwalk, and a bit different compared to how Penta played their Echo, where their Echo was top of Catwalk. I think that Echo will probably be in bomb site, because Doc's kind of like the obvious one, because even if Doc gets nade and he gets down, he can revive himself back up, whereas Echo, of course, doesn't have that luxury. And I guess Echo Drone set up nicely, and there's a spawn kill, and really, that's what I think Ara was kind of lacking even in Bank, was these aggressive plays. Just go for a spawn kill, why not? I highly doubt Penta would have expected one at this stage.
I mean, they've taken care of the Jackal. There's worse operators to lose based on how they've been kind of playing as a defender team. They haven't been on the roam too aggressively, but at the same time, when those start to pay off, when those spawn peaks start to work, from that point onwards, it can really give a team a lot of energy and a lot that they can translate. Heroldi gets shut down by Yanix, who is normally getting good frags or being the first fragged, so this is potentially a round working in his favor, but it's Jaeger taken out of the equation. Not the worst loss to suffer again when we talk about who is big and who is a nightmare to drop. Droning out the top of Garage and trying to find a way to push inside. They obviously still have the Maverick and they still have the Thermite. They don't really need the Thatcher to get through this wall nowadays, but they've still got it just in case, and they're going to make sure the ankles get bit on anyone that approaches this. Not going to try and impact it or anything. That wall is now open, and now it's down to see if Penta can find a secondary way in, or they're just going to try and brute force through onto this CCTV.
It's now JK, still playing top, and oh, he did see the head. But Hungry not peeking again, and I say that. This is tense. Fully exposing himself now, but Echo also not looking for it, but they know he's up there. There's Kuda, manages to put down Revan. Hungry still just fishing for the Echo, but not biting at the moment. So now for Penta, the pressure's on, and honestly at this stage, like, Okay, I was going to say Hungry's not really doing much, but then straight away, JK does peek and he gets his just desserts, but it doesn't really matter whenever you're still at the deficit in a 2 versus 3, and now a lot relies on Hungry and Enemy to make this a success. Oh, that's lucky for Hungry. That's completely swung things into the favor of Penta now, whenever Garage Control's in their favor, and of course, once they get that fuse down, and a post planet is always going to be tough, and with no C4 on the board from Enviik, they have to rely on the smoke grenades.
Wow, the smoke canisters are still kind of close, and we just saw one pass across the front of the screen. Pops out the stun around the side, and Enemy is going to double up over the shoulder of Hungry, who, well, living up to his name, finds another body, goes for the plant. There's one more gas grenade in pocket. They're pushing close, hit by the stun around the corner, trying to plant the diffuser, but so far no luck. The health has ticked further and further down. The shotgun just behind the man, hiding on the other side of the soft wall, and more gas is going to make Enemy even more soft, and there he goes, falling to the floor with 7 seconds. The smoke just has to play further away. The Zofia has to push for this. It's just in a sprint, run away for it, and no! Brilliant game sense there from the smoke to pull that round out.
What? How are Enviik no, not even how are Enviik getting away? How are Penta letting them do this? This is not Envik's doing. This is Penta looking extremely strong, and honestly, if I'm Hungry, I'm probably going to start to get tilted. Because he's just ran in. Last round he got like a triple kill. This round gets a triple kill. Literally pulls it out of thin air. And still, he loses.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to see because you're just, at this point, it's one of those frustrating situations for Penta. Because when they keep losing, it's down to these great plays and these great clutches from players that are just digging their heels in and finding a way to pull a round out in a situation that a lot of others wouldn't be able to. Now, it's an impossible thing to rely on, sure, but it just shows that they can't quite find themselves in this game with the same fire that Enviik have. And I guess there's more on the wire for them, sure. But at this point, it looks like we're potentially careening to our first third map in a best of 3. Again, we've got to remember that Clubhouse, you know, this was Envik's pick. This is a map that they should be more comfortable on and should be more familiar on, but still, they're refusing to go down without a fight.
So now for Enviik, they turn their attention to gym and bedroom. Extension over towards cash, which is a common thing that we've seen featured here on Clubhouse so far in the tournaments. And really for Enviik, whenever they're kind of setting up shop over here, they need to put more pressure on Penta. Because if Penta kind of see the cash and they're like, you know what, we're just going to leave them over there, we'll just push in towards Jacuzzi, then that's whenever Enviik need to step up and just start going crazy. Whenever they've realized that cash is not the intention for Penta, that's where we see a jump out from window. That's where we see a quick rotation. That's where we can see an absolute, I'll call it the Finnish classic peak.
The classic Finn. A nice bit of vintage Finn for your morning. They've got this wall open pretty quickly. It seems like...
Why is it soft?
Good question. I don't have an answer for you. But they've taken full advantage of that. Revan is wasting no time in cracking that wall open again. The pace of Penta is something that we've seen a bit, and I'm glad they're getting a bit more ferocious with it. They were otherwise a bit lackluster. Bold Castle there just swings across the open window, fully aware that they're going to be watching it and peeking it, and suffers the fate as Daikiri gets taken out of this round. And it looks like Penta are getting themselves set up for more of an aggressive push here.
So you bring the Bandit and you bring the Castle, yet you forget to reinforce the wall that Bandit and Castle are brought for. Huh. Intriguing, because you may try and argue with me and say, oh, but no, they're trying to Bandit trick in towards bathroom. You can get naded from above. Very easily. You can't do that with Jacuzzi Wall. They removed that feature. So now for Penta, they have all the time in the world. They have all the pressure, but there's the finished peak. That's what we wanted to see from Enviik, is whenever things aren't looking their way and they feel as if, hey, I'm not really doing anything over here construction, I'm going to go for a peak. They went for that peak and it gave them a kill, but still the refrag is there from Penta. Playing together as a team is really what's pulling Penta away, and it shows that, you know, how long Penta have been a team against Enviik, you know, who of course are the lesser team who don't have that Pro League experience that Penta bring into this matchup.
Well, the bullets are flying in now across the spot, and well, there falls another member of the Finnish team, and they're inside the gym now at this point, opening more sightlines to be able to take these firefights as smoke canisters pop off on the other side. But with the diffuser, well, there's Haroldi finds at least one back in the favor, but at the cost of almost all of his health. It's a 3 versus 1 and a teeny tiny bit now as the smoke is all out of canisters. He's going to try and rotate his way around the back of the point. Again, concerned about the cover. Revan finally finishes off one, and Penta put themselves back into a swing where for a second it looked like things might not be really going their way.
It wasn't so much to a good Penta attack, it was more of a very sloppy and poor setup from Enviik. Not reinforcing that wall and also bringing Castle and Bandit just makes no sense to me, one bit at all.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. Who needs to castle the window when you can just be Castle and stand in the window and pick the firefight?
Like, literally the windows that Castle is designed for, you're not even castling.
Yeah.
The wall that Bandit is designed for the Bandit trick, you're not even Bandit trick. You're not even reinforcing it. You're not making Penta work for this victory. Honestly, up until now, they were making Penta work. And that round just completely thrown everything out of order.
Yeah, that wasn't the best we've seen from them. They just kind of, it looked like they just didn't do their setup. And they had this point and they went, uh-oh, we've not really done what we're supposed to do. And then Penta, all credit to them, very quickly swarmed upon it, maybe trying to catch them out before they managed to finish whatever setup they wanted, and then started to close down everything. Church is where we're going to head to next. Obviously, this, again, we've already cited how many times it's been a bit of a back and forth. Both teams have won it on the previous half, and now at this point, it's down to see if they can win it on this half as their attackers, because otherwise Penta lost it previously. That would put them on to match and map point. It would put them in a very good standing. Otherwise, if Enviik can take this and put it on a 5-5, if they can perform on CCTV in a similar way, wow, this can really win it round for them. But we've got to remember, as I said before, otherwise this has generally been clutches that this has been the previous 2 round wins for them. Penta has pulled off the gas a little bit, and Enviik has been able to exploit that with some pretty outstanding individual plays across the 2 rounds. One from Ara, the man of the moment on this one, and then obviously from the smoke on the previous.
So Enviik take up arms in the church, and this was another round where Penta had it in the bag, and then all of a sudden, a Bandit out of nowhere appeared and put all of their hopes and dreams to one side. So now for Penta, bringing in the Finka. Unusual, to say the least, and you know, if you're bringing the Finka, you're literally replacing, you know, like a really strong operator for this particular bomb site, so you're kind of missing out on potentially, you know, more fragging potential, like a Buck who can be great for kitchen and also provide nades. But then again, Hungry also does have nades, you know, on the Finka, so that kind of could be a substitute. But I still don't think the Adrenaline Surge is kind of worth over the Skeleton Key.
Well, I guess we'll see if they can find a way to make it work as they crack their way closer towards this point. A lot of eyes on cameras right now on the sides of Enviik. Obviously, we've seen a lot of aggression, and look where Ara is. The Bandit on the very top floor is looking for a firefight on the fast reaches of this map. And if he goes unchecked, that could be monumental. However, it looks like he has been at least a little bit checked as Janix is waiting for the swing round onto this side. Hungry is there to help shut this down too. The Bandit is going to swing towards the opening pre-fires, and that actually gives the Bandit the good-headedness to slow his roll and not wildly swing at that. And if he hadn't pre-fired, that could have been the other way. There he goes though, and no, Janix, you need to get that, and does. Just as the head dips out of view, and that is a big frag. But with a minute 20 left on the clock, they've got to start making the most of this because they still have an entire floor to start cracking open.
Still time though. It is Clubhouse at the end of the day where you have a little bit more time compared to other maps. Because once they do get control of, you know, the hatches, they can start working their way in. As always, as long as you can get that diffuser down by 0.001 seconds, then there is no issues to be had. Suppressor on the Sniper Shoddy, surprisingly, and to be fair, that does limit the damage output that kind of comes, but if you hit the head, then it doesn't really matter for the most part. And now we look in towards kind of how Penta want to perform this. It looks as if they're going to try and go for the classic triple wall and open that up, use the Thatcher, and well, now it's a lot of pressure onto JK, see if he can kite trick, which he does go for. So I think it's a bit of a bait potentially coming in from Penta. Another Thatcher grenade surely has to come in as well. C4 gets tossed out, but misses, so a waste a bit of utility. No enemy looking to go for the wall open, and Oh, just barely misses that, but then again, I think it's just been destroyed there. No, he picks it back up, and again, the kite charge goes off, and will it come in? Yes, it will. It's a success, and enemy knows exactly where the kite is. An easy pre-fire, but Revan, he jumped on it before that. 2v5 now. Enviik in a rough spot to go for, but we have seen them clutch this before, but I think this one's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. As yes, a 1v5 now. Kuda, you've been playing well, but this is Penta at its best, and see if he can retake. Too many men, I feel, though, still for him to do it. Can add some kills onto the KD, but everybody starts flooding away from the bomb site, and there you go, from blue, the Thatcher pushes in, and Penta, map point, series point.
Well, yet again, in this exact round last time, was the one time we saw the diffuser go down. This exact round 10, and for the first time we've seen the diffuser go down. Again, it's not the biggest stat, but it's an interesting one. Match point, 6-4. This difference isn't quite as big as the 7-3 previously, but if Penta play the same way they just played, I mean, it's hard to imagine them losing. However, if we look back just a couple of rounds, it was pretty consistently in the favor of Enviik. They seemed very good, very together, and they've just got to try and find the momentum. So far, this game has actually been back and forth in pairs of rounds for its entirety. So if those more fun statistics to be believed, this could swing back into the favor of the Finns. They've just got to try and find, as I said, the fire that once previously existed in their barrels. CCTV and Cash, not going to opt for Church again, instead going to swing back to the top floor. DeKB swapped from the Finka, swapped to DeKB, even. And yeah, let's see if Penta can lock this off, or if the Finns can find a way to bring it to map 3.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Enviik, Cash for them. Setup, bring in the mute, which is going to be a great pickup, especially whenever they go against the Dokkaebi. And of course, if you didn't know, if you're in the radius of a mute jammer, it will not ring your phone. If you have your phone ringing and you step in the radius of a mute jammer, it will automatically turn it off. Another fun fact is that some people don't know is that Echo is actually immune to the phone calls. Do you know why that is, Fluke?
Why is that?
Because in the fictional lore of Rainbow 6, Echo and Dokkaebi used to go out with each other. And she blocked, and he specifically blocked her number.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you not know that?
No, I didn't.
That's the lore about it, yeah.
Is this from the new lore sections that we all got?
No, this is like old stuff. This is like whenever Dokkaebi got added in.
Oh
They explain that. That's why he's immune. It's because they used to go out and then it must have been a bad breakup and he blocked the number.
I feel like CG artists, they do a lot of great stuff. I follow a lot of fantastic CG artists. I don't think I've ever seen Echo and DeKB in a drawing together. Maybe I follow the wrong artists.
Who knows?
Inventing their own lore. The monsters that they are. Opening up Garage very quickly, giving themselves the sight lines all the way across. We can see, I mean, it's a bit of a slow and steady push here. But otherwise, yeah, it's Penta setting themselves up, being ready with the DeKB, being ready to get the calls in and find their way to crack open this point. They have the Echo, they have the Valkyrie, they have the information to lead into this. Maybe some aggression could go the way of Enviik as they lose the first fight. That is Yannick's. Again, he's either the first to show up aggressively or not aggressively, and can they try and find a way to claw back from this?
Be a tough one for sure if Enviik make this a success, but we have seen them pull off clutches before, but feels like Penta are ready to lock this out, and here comes that engagement once more. Somehow, JK doesn't land the headshot. That's baffling, but still Yannick's has kind of found a bit of energy and potentially the final round, and has picked up yet again another kill, this time on the Valkyrie. And well, there's Revan, and surely this has to be it for Penta. They have to take this win, and yeah, just an absolute slaughterhouse for Penta. Enviik now 1v5 once again for Kuda. This is the exact same scenario he was in last time, and well, flawless to finish off. Penta, they move on to the next round, and they send Enviik out of the tournament.
Well, there were points today where it seemed like the standard team that we expected to go through wasn't quite going to make it, and then they quickly found a couple of rounds and reminded us all just what they are capable of. Some pretty big teams and big games have progressed to the next round, and if any